How you doing out there? How you doing? It's a Frankie Russo pre-show. I'm going to keep talking about these things that I feel that are very important. I get a call from all over the country on different subjects. And quite frankly, I think it's beautiful. I really appreciate the insights, and there's so many different issues. And I'm just looking for statistical significance, things that I really can make some serious, you know, draw some serious conclusions, make some serious judgments on. A lot of things that we have information, we have to look at the data and actually see if it's statistically significant, if it's actually falls within the standard deviation of the classified documents, which I don't know, I have no access to classified documents, as you know. I don't sit on the Joint Chief of Staff. I don't sit on congressional oversight committees. I don't sit like on with organizations like the International Atomic Energy Agency or anything like that. So, I'm trying to draw inferences and conclusions and make some sort of predictions with some statistical significance. I need some data that's statistically significant. So this is how I roll. We look at it, we put it to the light and see if it makes the test. Because I believe the stuff that I'm going to talk about right now is statistically significant. That it deems this is my opinion. I want to make this clear. This is my opinion. These are sources: the WND, Jerome Corsi, um, Congressional Oversight Committee on Terrorism, Rachel Effenfeld, the president of the American Center for Democracy. Also, I got some Weekly Standard articles, sources as well on this data. So, I try to put it together and see if it makes sense. I think it does. So I'm going to go to this thing again. Do you believe the Obama administration is a criminal enterprise? And then as I go through every week, there's a criminal enterprise a glossary or definition as defined by the FBI. It goes through the RICO statute. It goes through, there has to be groups and an organization that's not legal or not a legal entity, and I prove it here. From the jump, fraudulent draft card, Obama, illegal president. Because I believe it's statistically significant, it hasn't gone to the smell test. This is my opinion. Based on the data that I've seen, the investigations, it's definitely worth an investigation. Because his draft card has never been mailed based on the data we have. So if draft card has never been mailed, we have a commander-in-chief that's illegal based on federal law, cannot serve in the executive branch. Very, very, very important, crazy, right? And then the Obama administration entered into a memorandum of understanding with the State Department. I mean, with the Clinton Foundation, because eventually Hillary Clinton was the Secretary of State, which oversaw the State Department. She oversaw the State Department. So that's what I meant to say. But anyway, we got the Obama administration memorandum of understanding with the Clinton Foundation, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Cheryl Mills, Chief of Staff of Hillary Clinton's State Department. When Hillary Clinton left, she went to the Clinton Foundation. She's on the board. Rosa Jackson from the Obama administration is on the board of the Clinton Foundation. Huma Abedin is a consultant to the Clinton Foundation. So this, I believe, without even going through the second part of this thing, is a criminal enterprise. Illegal entity. Based on Obama's fraudulent draft card. He's an illegal president. He's illegal. Based on the federal law. Statistically significant. It hasn't, I'm being straight up. This is my opinion based on the sources that I found. I tried to put together something I think is really statistically significant, that it falls within the standard deviation of the classified documents of the mean. Because if we had classified documents, there would be no, we would know pretty much what's going on, But the truth be told, so I'm on the outside looking in. So I found this other part here, which I found crazy. In this other part, there's a building, 650 Fifth Avenue, which once was owned by the Shah of Iran, but when he was exiled, when he left Iran, the Iranian mullahs took over all the assets that the Shah was in possession of, and this was one of them, 650 Fifth Avenue. So what happened was the Iranian mullahs are trying to stay out of the jurisdiction of the United States government, of the United States. Why? Because then the United States, because they've been deemed since 1984 as a terrorist, a state sponsor of terrorists since 1984, if they're within the United States jurisdiction, we are going to sanction their assets. We're going to block their assets. We're going to take hold of their assets because that's how we roll. We have to protect and weaken our enemies that are looking to kill. That's how we protect our nation. And if they're looking to kill Americans, American people, home and abroad, American allies, etc. Okay? So what happened was the Iranian mullahs, they took control of 650 Fifth Avenue, which is 53rd Street and 5th Avenue in Manhattan. As I say every week, a tree grows in Brooklyn, a skyscraper was resurrected in Manhattan, 650 Fifth Avenue. And what happened was the Iranian mullahs eventually, because it started off in one foundation and it wasn't conspicuous enough, so it ended up going into three: the Alevi Foundation, the Assa Corporation, and Bank Melli of Iran. Owns interest in 650 Fifth Avenue. With all this going on, the State Department, the Justice Department, the Treasury Department, and the FBI were surveilling these entities and 650 Fifth Avenue for quite a number of years. And what they found was a problem. These organizations weren't running this building. These three organizations that had an interest in 650 Fifth Avenue building was being operated by the Iranian government. And what happened was the 650 Fifth Avenue building was funneling money through these entities, which owned and operated this building, through these front organizations to the Iranian government. And Preet Bharara, the district attorney, Southern District of the Justice Department, filed a complaint, and the ruling came down in his favor by Justice Catherine Forrest that these organizations weren't operating this building. He had such a case, it was so clear and convincing, she ruled in his favor, and it was the Iranian government were the ones that owned and operated this building through these three front organizations. So, ruled in his favor, property was seized and forfeited to families of the victims of September 11, 2001, unfortunate event. And the unfortunate event in the 1980s, the bombing of the Beirut bombing and the killing of the over 200 Marines. And so the families of the Marines that were killed were able to garner some sort of relief from this, the proceeds of the building. That was what the judgment came down from the judge. Well, we found out that the Clinton Foundation accepted $105,000 from the Alevi Foundation, which is part of this terrorist entity, which owned interest in 650 Fifth Avenue. Until today, the Clinton Foundation or the Alevi Foundation claims anything was done wrong. The Clinton Foundation's refusing to give the money back, and they're claiming that the money went toward Katrina relief. Do you believe that? I don't know about you all, but I certainly don't. So I kept digging and investigating, trying to find out more information. Right? So what I did was first of all, I asked the question, why, I'm going to do this for a few more minutes. I said, why did, basically, based on the complaint filed by Preet Bharara, based on that complaint and the ruling of the Judge Forrest, we're going to say, why did the Iranian government give $105,000 to the Clinton Foundation, which is part of this criminal entity of the executive branch, right? Why? I know in October, I did some research based on, like I said, the WND Daily, Jerome Corsi, Rachel Effenfeld, some congressional oversight documents. I think it was Senator John Kyle, and also the Weekly Standard wrote some source information, some other stuff, some other pieces to this puzzle I'm going to bring up before this pre-show is over, which will be over in a few more minutes. I just wanted to say also, now, Bill Clinton. So I thought about this. I said, why? So I tried to, I followed the sources, and it came to, in October 21st, 1998, President Clinton at the time signed a bill with the Congress that would enable American families to recover some sort of damages, some sort of monetary value from the loss of their loved ones in these terrorist attacks. He enabled that. He gave, according to that bill, is Omnibus 1999, Section 117, enables American citizens, American people, to recover damages for the loss of their loved ones in these terrorist attacks. So that, in other words, because the assets of a lot of these terrorist regimes are kept out of the jurisdiction of the United States. So, because if they weren't within the jurisdiction of the United States, we would seize them, like we did 650 Fifth Avenue. They would forfeit them, and we would seize them. So, President Clinton, with that signing of that bill, enabled families of the victims of these terrorist attacks, enabled them to garner some sort of value. Obviously, it's not the value of getting their loved ones, but some sort of monetary value from the rogue regimes, the terrorist entities' assets, like 650 Fifth Avenue. Well, that same day, unfortunately, President Clinton signed President Determination 99-1, which unfortunately totally waived the requirements of Section 117 under the grounds of national security. So on one swoop of the pen, he enabled Americans to access the assets of these terrorist entities deemed by the United States government. And then by executive order, he blocks the Americans, us, the American people, from gaining some sort of recovery for the losses of our loved ones, from the loss of these innocent lives. The families tried to get some sort of value, some sort of monetary value for the loss of their loved ones. So, on one swoop of the pen, Bill Clinton, President Clinton, enables the American people to get access and then blocks it. So that's one thing I found very strange. Then also, too, there's these federal statutes. One federal statute, Title 21, U.S. Code 960A, prohibits terrorist activity within the jurisdiction of the United States. And what has to happen is, so it prohibits terrorist activity within the United States. The offender provides anything of monetary value for a terrorist offense that causes or is designed to cause death or serious bodily injury to a national of the United States while the United States is while the national is outside the United States, or substitutes to the property of a legal entity organized within the laws of the United States. So it's prohibited, obviously, terrorist activity within the United States and monetary value exchanging. So in other words, persons or organizations exchanging money within the jurisdiction of the United States with the terrorist entity is prohibited. according to this federal statute. And it went on to say, based on this law, that a person or organization must have knowledge that this person or organization has engaged or engages in terrorist activity. I don't know how the Clinton Foundation, Bill Clinton, former president of the United States, doesn't know that the Alevi Foundation was part of this terrorist entity affiliated with, that owns 650 Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. I just don't understand how he doesn't know that. I find that mind-boggling. So that's one thing that I'm wrestling with. And then there's this other thing, this Executive Order 1322-4, which designates, obviously, this is executive under George W. Bush. And it talks about terrorism, how, obviously we're fighting terror, and, we're going to do everything within our power. Well, he was going to do everything within his power with the executive branch to fight terror with the State Department and utilizing all the various departments within the executive branch. And then he goes on to say, all property and interests in property of designated individuals and entities that are in the United States that come in the United States or that come within possession or control of the United States persons are blocked. So basically, what this executive order pretty much, in a nutshell, because it's a pretty long one, these organizations that are deemed designated terrorist entities must be blocked, must be sanctioned. And so it's prohibited, obviously, for obvious reasons, for terrorist activity to be within the jurisdiction of the United States. That's obvious. In addition, there are no exceptions. So, in other words, it's prohibited for individuals, persons or individuals, to have any affiliation with property, interests in property, in transactions, in monetary transactions, or anything of the sort with terrorist entities deemed by the United States government to be terrorist entities within the jurisdiction of the United States, which is 650 Fifth Avenue. So this was an executive order that was signed in 2001. I don't know how this whole transaction between Alevi Foundation and Clinton Foundation was between 2006 and 2008. I don't know how former President Bill Clinton is not aware of Executive Order 1322-4, which prohibits basically taking money from a terrorist entity. I don't understand that. I don't believe it. So, to move this forward now a little further now, we got one point I found through Rachel Effenfeld, the president of the American Center for Democracy. She's claiming in the late 80s that the Alevi Foundation, which was part of this terrorist entity that owned 650 Fifth Avenue building and was part of the money laundering that was ruled against them by the judge Catherine Forrest, as well as obstruction of justice. The director of the Alevi Foundation was found guilty and put in jail for obstruction of justice. So Rachel Effenfeld's claim, $1.4 million went to the Blind Sheikh's Mosque. Blind Sheikh's Mosque, as if anybody remembers, in 1993, the Blind Sheikh had this mosque in Brooklyn, and he was the mastermind behind the bombing of the World Trade Center in 1993. So she's claiming that money went to the mosque in the late 80s. Then I was looking at some court papers, and the claim in the court papers is that $1.4 million went to the Blind Sheikh's Mosque in 1997, after the bombing. Which, what's really crazy is, from this $1.4 million going to the Blind Chief's Mosque. There was an investigation by the FBI. They did this whole thing. They had a sting operation to 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 get these radical Islamists who were involved in financing terror, home and abroad, to come out and incriminate themselves. And they got it to the point where they had all the evidence against the sheikh of the sheikh of the Blind Sheets Mosque in 2003 from Yemen. They had him. They got him on tape. They got him on wire transfers of money, the whole thing. And basically, what happened was he was found guilty before a trial for funneling $20 million to Al Qaeda and $4.5 million to Hamas. Found guilty. He ended up getting deported to Iran. He pled guilty, and he ended up getting deported to, not Iran, to Yemen. To Yemen. So basically, with this connection from the Obama administration to the Clinton Foundation to the Levy Foundation, which is part of the terrorist entity with which is basically the Iranian government, we got the Obama administration in the Blind Sheets Mosque, and then money went to Al Qaeda and Hamas. So now we got them with terrorist groups, and for a few other two other sidebars on this, and then we're going to continue on this journey to fill this puzzle in, to fill this outline in with more data. And I said I think I mentioned it last week briefly, but it came to my attention that the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Iran presently is Mohammad Zarif. Mohammad Zarif was a former Iranian ambassador to the UN between 2002 and 2007, and he was the executive director of the Alevi Foundation in 2002 and 2007. And they gave the Alevi Foundation gave the Clinton Foundation $1.5 thousand between 2006 and 2008. It's crazy. Executive director. He never gotten, to my knowledge, he never actually got into any formal trouble, which I don't know how that happened, or didn't happen, or whatever. I have no idea. It doesn't make any sense to me. And he's the chief negotiator to this new Iranian deal that they're trying to put together, this Fugazi deal, which, quite frankly, we're going to find out that Iran has the bomb, but that's another story. That's another discussion, and we're going to bring that more into focus as we move this forward. So Mohammad Zarif now is a player. He's the chief negotiator for this Iranian deal presently, and he was part of the Alevi Foundation back in 2002 and 2007, and he's part of the right now he sits as a director of this big Persian foundation in Iran, which at one point in time, the Alevi Foundation, it wasn't called the Alevi Foundation, it was called some other Persian name, which was the New York branch of this big Iranian Persian foundation that Mohammad Zarif sits on as a director of. That's how deep this conspiracy goes. And just for another sidebar, an Iranian defector, Iranian reporter, just to add to this, Iranian journalist writing about, this is according to the Weekly Standard, an Iranian journalist writing about the nuclear negotiations between the United States and Iran has defected. And he claims that the United States negotiating team are mainly there to speak on Iran's behalf with the other member countries and convince them of a deal. I don't know if this is statistically significant or not. I'm looking to do more information, more research on it. I just wanted to throw that out there. So because I'm going to bring this full circle to today. I'm starting to get there. I'm going to bring this whole thing to the negotiations right now, because June's coming up, and the end of June is where they're supposed to have this Iranian deal in place, which is kind of crazy because it's just basically enabling Iran to do what they want, because the only way we could stop them is to sanction them, is to weaken them with the economy, because quite frankly, with them and North Korea, I believe, based on the information that I'm garnering, I don't have drone pictures of their nuclear facility, but I believe because North Korea has the bomb, so does Iran. And I was reading this article by the Tablet magazine, and it's one of it was the writer from the Weekly Standard. I think it's Alex Smith, Lee Smith. I don't have the article in front of me, but I'm going to bring that to this presentation down the road to make this full circle from 1990s till today. What I believe is statistically significant. This has not gone through any smell test. This has not gone through any investigation, but there are sources in here that have. That's why I believe this is statistically significant. Court papers, judge's decision, memorandum of understanding, a statistically significant fraudulent draft card. We have a two court decisions, a jury trial, which ruled in favor of the Justice Department pre-Bahara. Not pre-Bahara, it was John Ashcroft's Justice Department. And then pre-Bahara did the Alivi Foundation, Asset Corporation, and Bank Millie, the 650 Fifth Avenue case. So these two cases, which are statistically significant, it puts the whole thing together. It has them, the Obama administration, the Clinton Foundation, terrorists with Al-Qaeda, Hamas, the chief negotiator of Iran, the Iranian deal, Mohammad Zarif, and the Iranian defector, which right now is it's not statistically significant. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm going to still try to make it statistically significant, try to get more data to support my contention that this whole thing is one big criminal enterprise. See you in a few. See you in about an hour. Frankie Russo show. Yeah, before I go, I want to also introduce you all to something. We're trying to move things full circle. Frankie Russo show. I got this. I just blogged it. America's Team. Okay? America's Team. You got to sign up to join the America's Team with Frankie Russo, 77 WABC's Love Me Hit Me Kid from Brooklyn, Frankie Russo. You got to go to my Facebook page, Frankie Russo Show. There's all posts on it. You click on the post and you sign up. You put your first name and your email in there, and I'll send you some information. Discounted membership fees. It'll be a yearly fee, discounted. You have access, Frankie Russo events, discounted merchandise. I'm going to send you a t-shirt with the membership fee. And we're going to start a little updates, and we're going to grow this thing. America's Team. We have to stand up and fight for this great nation that we know and love, America. So you got to join Frankie Russo. You can also go to russonation.tv. I did a post over there. I'm on Twitter, Frankie Russo 1. You see my posts on America's Team. Sign up and join America's Team with 77 WABC's Frankie Russo today. You can go to russonation.tv as well. I want to thank you all so much, and let's restore this great nation, America. America's Team. It's the Frankie Russo pre-show. I'll talk to you all in a few.